So my challenge to you is get quiet. For salespeople, that's hard to do. And think about what you want to be different this year from last year. And what's one word that could encourage you, help you set that intention that you want more of? And what's one word that you want less of? Hey everybody, thanks for joining another solo episode of the Sales Spark podcast. I'm Jason Barnaby, your host. And we are still at the beginning of the year. And I don't know if you're one of those new year, new me type of people. If you are a screw that, it's just another manic Monday at the beginning of the year. If this is somehow a little bit transformational for you because the calendar did flip and there's new expectations, especially if you're in sales. If you did really well in sales last year, you were probably rewarded with a higher goal. That's the double-edged sword of sales and being successful. It's like, great, you did a great job. Now let's do even more with even less. At least that's what it used to be for me in the corporate world. So if you find yourself in that space where you have a higher goal, where you are being challenged to do other things, there's a great quote that I use when I speak. It's an Einstein quote. It says, "The thinking that got you to where you are is not the thinking that's going to get you to where you want to be." Let me repeat that. The thinking that got you to where you are is not the thinking that's going to get you to where you want to be. In other words, it's an evolution. And I know that there are some people listening to this who are like, whatever, Jason, I've been successful doing what I do and I'm fine. I don't push myself. I've found a pretty comfortable place to be. This was my thing when I used to support wholesalers. I've got my book of people that will call me back, have lunch with me, go to the golf course with me, whatever it happens to be. I got that. What happens when those people leave that company? What happens when products shift and change? What happens when the focus of what the company wants for them or for you doesn't match? You always need to be building that book, building relationships, asking for referrals. And here's one way that I like to get my focus for the year. I do a thing called word in and word out, also known as WIWO. I like abbreviations. Say it with me. Do you WIWO? Do you WIWO? Or sing it with me. I don't care. So I do a word in and a word out every year. I've been doing it for several years. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing magical about these words. I don't put a lot of responsibility on these words. I don't lock these words down and expect them to do things. I don't put expectations on the words. I do use these words as a way to focus what I'm going to be doing for that particular year. So typically when I come into a new year, I have those. I start thinking about this around Thanksgiving, and I typically have those by the time we get to New Year. This year, I started the new year and I actually didn't have them. First time in a long time. Let me break this down for you how this works. I like to spend time, and you can do this how it works for you. Maybe you think about things when you run, when you swim, when you bike, when you meditate. I don't know. I like my quiet time either late at night when everybody's in bed or early in the morning when everybody's in bed. And so this year I did some journaling when we returned from vacation and everybody was a little sleepy, and I stayed up for a couple hours and I started journaling. What do I want in this year that I didn't have last year? What am I looking for? What are my goals? What's in my heart? What am I feeling in my soul? Yes, this is a little woo. I get it. And I'm down for it. And if you're not, that's fine. But if you're in this, stay with me and let's talk about what this could look like for you. So I started thinking about, what do I want to do in 2026 that's going to look different than 2025? I started off the year with a huge contract won from a client that I serviced last year. They decided to keep the work that I was doing and actually expand that work a little bit. So I'm coming into the new year, really, things are taken care of for 2026. And this is exactly the time, if you're in sales, when you hit that goal, when you're close to that goal, when you get a big win, the common reaction to that is to to ease off, to take our foot off the gas a little bit. My good friend Brian Neal, who's in my first episode, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, go listen to it, says all the time, this is the time to pour gasoline on the fire. So that's what I was thinking about. How can I pour gas on this fire, on this great start that I've already had? Long story short, I settled on the word expanding. I didn't want the word expansion because that to me is finite. You did an expansion. Good, you achieved your goal. I wanted this to be something that was continual. Expanding is my word in. Okay. Now, not always, but sometimes, and in this case, yes, it is true that my word out is the opposite of my word in. So I was trying to think of a word. What's the opposite of expanding? Shrinking. I don't want to spend 2026 shrinking. And what I realized was when I would put these big old goals out there, ooh, I want to do this. Ooh, I want to do that. This idea of expanding and wanting to expand, the shrinking came right in. You can't do that. That's also the what if abouts. If you've listened to me, you know this. What if abouts are those pesky doubts and fears that work hard to keep us stuck and afraid. And they work really hard. Problem is, they're not very creative. They're just tenacious. So when you learn how to talk to them and when you learn how to put them in their place, they stop getting as loud. And eventually, I really do believe they go away because you've changed the wiring of your brain by having these thoughts. So for me, word in, expanding, word out, shrinking. I'm going to give you a great example. It's happening this weekend for me. So I am a graduate of Indiana University. If you are a college football fan, you know that IU, I don't know when this is going to air, but it's this coming Monday, they are going to be playing in the national championship against Miami University. I have lots of friends who are season ticket holders, who went to the Rose Bowl, who went to the Peach Bowl, who are now talking about going to the finals. I don't have a ticket. I don't actually even want a ticket. I just want to be where the party is, where the excitement is. I'm not talking about like going out and like shotgunning beers in the in the parking lot or anything like that, although I'm sure there will be some of that. I just want to be in that festive environment. And so I started thinking about this. I have a friend, really good friend from college who lives in Miami, who invited, he's like, anybody that wants to come down, come on down. I'm going to the game. Family's going to the game. Um, and then some others of my friends started a group chat. Hey, we're going to go down. We don't have tickets, but we might get tickets. But some of us are for sure going to tailgate. And so I started thinking about this in terms of my word of the year for expanding. And I was like, I want to go to Miami. This is expanding for me. This is expanding enjoyment and relationship and connection with people. Okay. So I started thinking about that. And sure enough, very quickly on the heels of the expanding thoughts came the shrinking thoughts of, you don't deserve that. You can't. You can't do that. You can't take a day off. You can't spend that money to go down there. You have all these other things. And yes, it's true, but here's what happened. I realized that on Tuesday, which flights were really expensive to come back on Tuesday, and I have a ton of coaching clients on the books. I was like, well, you know what? I'll just stay down there on Tuesday, hang with my friend. We have some business things to talk about anyway. Hang with my friend, have my sessions remotely, come back on Wednesday, easy peasy, and win. I hope this is true. When we win the national championship, I will be down in Miami celebrating with what I can only imagine is tens of thousands of IU fans. So why am I telling you all this? Because what happens when we put these words out into the world, there is intention behind it. We are aware of it. We are more mindful of those words. And that is exactly what happened in this whole experience that I had. So I am going to encourage you to think about what it is that you want this year and what it is that you don't want. Think about things that you didn't get last year, maybe goals that were missed or things that you dwelled on that you don't want to this year. Think about how you want this year to look different than last year. And again, this isn't magic, but what it is it helps create focus and intention. I'm going to share one little quick story. When I first started doing this, I chose the word endurance for my word in. And I had run, I think 4 half marathons at that point. And so when I chose the word endurance, I was like, you know what? One of the best ways to live out endurance is to do a full marathon. So I ran my first, last, and only full marathon about 10 years ago. Trained for it, had this crazy goal to finish it in less than 4 hours. All my running friends told me I was stupid for setting that goal. Just finish, Jason. You shouldn't set a goal like that. This is why I don't listen to other people who are not making my goals. So I was like, okay, I appreciate that. And I trained hard and I trained well. Unfortunately, all my running friends who told me not to set a goal did not tell me about this effing wall that you hit at mile 20. And the longest training run that I had done was right around 20 miles. So I hit like 20 and a half miles and my legs started spasming. I looked like I was having some sort of a seizure when I was running. I wish I could show you, but it would take too long for me to get up and do all that. Point of the story is I was in trouble and I was tired and all the things. So I was like, you know what? This is the longest I've ever run. I've almost run 21 miles. This is awesome. I'm satisfied with this. I'm really happy. And as I was walking and also pounding on my thighs to get them to stop shaking, I thought to myself, okay, when I get around this next corner, that's a great place to just get off the course. I can get back to where I know my wife is parked, picking me up, easy peasy. And I am not kidding you. I get to that corner, I turn the corner, and I look, and on the lawn there on this corner is a 6 foot wide by 3 foot tall sign advertising the sports drink called, you guessed it, endurance. And I was like, well, shit. I can't stop now. Literally, it was a literal sign with my word in. So I mustered up all that I could muster, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not quitting. I'm gonna finish. This is truly a sign. I want to be true to my word. And I kept running. At this point, I had no idea what the pace was, where I was. I think my watch had died at this point. And I get to the place where we turned the corner, and you had like the 0.2 miles to the finish line, and I was cooked. What I didn't know, didn't hear, and didn't see was my entire family was standing on the corner right there when I turned, cheering me on. And my middle son jumped out of the crowd and started running along beside me. And he said, "You can do it, Dad. You can do it. I know you can do it. Keep going. Don't quit." Which, let me just tell you, is incredible fuel for that inner fire. And he did that, and I looked up at the timer that was running, and at the time it said 3:56, and I was like, holy shit, I can hit my goal. And I finished in 3:57 and some change. I don't remember what the seconds were. And here's the point. It's not magic, but it reminded me of the intention that I had for the entire year that I was training around endurance. And when I saw that sign, it just reminded me how important this goal was and to not quit. Help me remember my intention. In the same way this year, the intention is expanding and not shrinking. So my challenge to you is get quiet. For salespeople, that's hard to do. And think about what you want to be different this year from last year. And what's one word that could encourage you, help you set that intention that you want more of? And what's one word that you want less of? And if you do this, I would love to hear your words. Share them in the comments. Send it to me in an email. I would love to help cheer you on through 2026. The most important thing in all of this is that you strike one match. What is that one match today that you can strike? Because as you know, and as I say at the end of every episode, fire always wins. Until next time.